What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I am your host, Justin Harold, and always with me, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today, we're bringing you guys some Browns news. It's been a while. It's been a little hectic here with the Pulse, covering a lot of Cavs, obviously, them making the playoffs and then getting a little bit wrecked in the playoffs, 4-1. But that's over. They're in the offseason. We'll get to that at some point. But we're here to talk Browns. And recently, which something we've always covered here at the Pulse pretty extensively for what I could say, the NFL draft, which took place this past weekend. The Browns didn't select anyone until the third round. So that's part of the reason we couldn't really get into it. It's hard to predict who you're going to be drafting when your first pick comes in the third round. So, Jeff, obviously, lot that we missed, not really missed, but just didn't hop on to chat about until now.
100%. So your first round pick, if you've been following the Browns social media, that they'll let you know that the first round pick is Deshaun Watson, which he will be for a couple of years. And the second round pick was Elijah Moore.
Yep.
So that's cool. And then, like you said, you kind of don't really get into a third round pick. So I don't want to be like the bearer of bad news. I don't want to come on and be like, oh, but like, who cares? Like, honestly, me and you love the draft as much as anybody, but we've already covered the Deshaun Watson move a year ago. Elijah Moore already covered that, talked about that. So as far as third round and down for the majority of the franchises, you're hoping that your third round guy makes an impact to some quantifiable degree. Obviously Martin Emerson last year, not too bad. And yeah, from there, maybe you get a diamond in the rough. Probably not. Probably not from third round down. Just not plausible.
Yeah, and for me, we've in the past gotten like really into like, how did these guys do in their college roles, and how did
we love them because they're from Ohio State. We love
them. And how like will they fit into the scheme? I told Jeff before we got into this, I'm strictly looking at this from a depth chart point of view. Like, where will they legitimately fall on the depth chart, and why did you draft that position in this stage of the round? And I think I'm only going to do that for like the first three, and that's about it. But even then, I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. Like Jeff said, round three guys, you're not thinking anything other than, well, hopefully they're a contributor in some way this season. That's about it. Mm-hmm. So he's not wrong. We're going to get into it. And I'm sure that, someone in the comments will be like, oh, but this guy's a steal. He did this, and this. And
that's fine. It doesn't matter to us till we see it on the field.
Yeah, it does not matter. A lot of these guys just, I'm worried that they're not even going to sniff the field or, impact anything that's going to happen. But let's get right into it. The first pick for the Browns in round 3, pick 73, Cedric Tillman, wide receiver from Tennessee. The only thing I saw from this guy is that he had a crazy stretch of like 100+ receiving games and like 200-yard receiving game within that span. Again, looking at this from a depth chart point of view, Jeff already brought up your second round pick, Elijah Moore, and the guy that you went and traded 6th-round picks for last or 2 seasons ago, Amari Cooper. Now, those are your 1 and 2. Straight up, that's 1 and 2. And then you have an established guy with DPJ, which I think me and Jeff talked about it just briefly when we made the draft pick, this is a potential DPJ replacement. If DPJ 100%. Wants, if he has another good season and if he wants to go and demand money from someone else, that's a very, logical move. However, and the one thing that can be said about third-round wide receivers and later for the Browns, a lot of them have not worked out. Anthony Schwartz, we're looking at David Bell, Demetric Felton can be thrown in there, and then Michael Woods unfortunately goes and gets hurt, or not. That's the wrong one, right?
No, Michael Woods tore his Achilles.
Yeah,
but he was the most. I think he was the most interesting prospect out of all 3 of those guys you just named. It's like he's out for the years. So
yeah, so. The history with wide receivers and us drafting them, not great. I understand he's a big guy, has potential, whatever, but Jeff will tell you we've gotten into this about Cavs. We're in a win now mode. We need guys that are going to contribute now to a very competitive AFC, which we'll get into another day.
Yeah, I'm pretty shocked he went wide receiver. Honestly, it was a position close to the top of like what you maybe could have seen him draft there, but at this point, I just think all of these picks across the board, and I'm going to try not to repeat myself the whole upload. He's just doing the general manager thing where he's like, let's get as much competition into the room as possible. Because, and I think it's interesting because me and you agree on this pick for the most part, but his story, I feel like we normally disagree on. I'm not usually a fan of, and no, this is no offense to anybody who's in the NFL or whatever, but I don't like he would have been a first rounder if he didn't get hurt, or he would have been, middle second rounder. He would have been really, a sought after prospect, but an injury did it, or he's a little bit too old. You like the guys who are a little bit more established and older that the GMs are like, oh, I'm not going to draft this guy because he's already 24 or he's already 23, whatever. That's kind of how I feel about this guy. Like, sure, was he probably a better draft pick like a year ago and then he got hurt? Whatever it may be, fill the room with competition. Donovan Peoples-Jones kind of can't be complacent now. Like he was pretty much locked into the third spot. Now he has to. I'm fine with the competition if that's what he's going for.
Yeah, and it's always, you talk about wide receiver and cornerback positions. Those are the ones that, guys start to drop like flies, and all of a sudden you're down to third
True.
stringers being first stringers and whatnot. But I can respect it. Obviously, I still think that at the beginning of the draft, I would have told you D tackle, linebacker,
D tackle for sure.
and edge were your biggest concerns. And, who knows how they've. It's always tough to, I'm sure people saw on Twitter that some guy said, oh, the Browns were able to nab like 3 of my top 100 players, like, all right, what does that mean coming from a random guy that,
Right.
yeah, is he maybe a scout? Sure. But what's his value compared to someone else's? It's neither here nor there. So we did end up addressing the D tackle position with the next pick, round 3, pick 98. Jeff, do you know how to pronounce this man's name? It's
no idea.
Saaki Ika from Baylor.
Ika sounds correct.
Yeah, D tackle. This big boy here. When the next 2 picks are big boy guys. So, obviously, like I said, positional wise, this is a position of need. Your D tackles as of right now are Tomlinson and not Pierron Winfrey, Elliott.
I think he'll still be on the roster though.
Yeah, but
somehow
this is a guy that I think is your 1 and 2 down guy, and if it's third and short, you bring him in just in case. But outside of that, again, I don't know that the value is great here. I don't really like super like huge defensive tackles who can't move great, but everyone's saying that he's light on his feet for his size. So there's that.
I guess Barry attacks it from both sides. I just think it's so hard to draft D tackles. Like they just are not good players coming out of college. I don't know what it is. And I guess if you watch a lot of college football, you see running backs have crazy big games. You see quarterbacks have all day in the pocket. Like, I guess that's the case. But what I like, I'm on the Athletics website reading through some of their analysis. And this sentence is I'm kind of a fan of. It says he's not going to produce much in the backfield, but he can affect the game without logging a stat. I'm in for that.
Well, I'm in for that too, but that's a typical defensive tackle, know, like unless you're Aaron Donald,
they probably said that about Togi,
Yeah, and here's the thing: what Jeff said about drafting D tackles and like defensive linemen in general. Like, I think you can get steals later on in the draft at the edge position, but if you're in the top 15, I guarantee you get 2 guys at D tackle that go in the top 15 every year.
Maybe
because that's how they're separated. You get 2 like phenomenal ones, and then the rest of them are all like, oh, he's a run stopper. Oh, he's a pass, rusher, and that's it. And it's like you never really. It's really tough to get a good defensive tackle.
We put so much emphasis on the quarterback too. It's like you want your D tackle to affect the pocket. Like, how many guys are just left in the league just like laying around in the middle of the defensive line, just like, oh, we're gonna put you here to stop the run. Like the AFC North, that's probably the division where it makes the most sense. Whether you got decent running backs pretty much all around the board. But besides that, it's like we need people to affect the quarterback. That's why you see edges go earlier. Like you said, you
Right.
can find value in an edge a little bit later on.
Yeah, no, and I think that it's just like I said, depth chart wise, will he be a first down guy? Maybe, but I don't think he's gonna be when you see like split shares and everything. He's not gonna make it above 50. I think
Okay.
he might crack 50, but that's about it. Moving forward, probably the like I think first great pick, if maybe the only great pick in this draft for me, Dewan Jones from Ohio State, the Ohio State offensive tackle. Just had to make that really quickly.
Had to.
But this is one where again, yes, does he pop on the depth chart as a number one? No. And does he pop up as on the depth chart as a number two? Probably not as of right now. You still have James Hudson in reserve behind Conklin and Wills. So here's what I told Jeff. This is just a Bill Callahan project for when Wills and Conklin are up for contracts, and we're like, hey, we have Hudson who has been filling in through the seasons and has done good job. And now we have another new project that we can put in a year from now.
It'll be fun to watch them in our goal line sets when we bring an extra offensive lineman, because you know they will do that. It's probably why this is my favorite pick as well, because I could just imagine like 1 yard line, Chubb's in the backfield, obviously, and then this guy just walks onto the field. Imagine him like pull block. I mean, they did that with Hudson last year, and he almost killed somebody. So I'm interested.
Receiver.
Oh man, that'd be crazy. How tall is he? 6'8"?
6'8". He's 6'8". Jump ball, baby.
Oh,
Jump ball.
That'd be nuts. Don't give Stefanski any ideas. Oh my God.
Oh,
we have
Lord.
Deshaun Watson. You're throwing jump balls to the 6'8" lineman.
But like we said, it's really from this pick on, it's like project guy, you know, reserve
100%.
guy. So that's the last time I think I'm really going to comment on anything going on here. But that was round 4, pick 111. Moving forward, round 4, pick 126. Isaiah McGuire, edge from Missouri. This is like the only pick that I saw anyone say like he could potentially come in and like be that third rotational piece. Like he could beat out Alex Wright, which not saying anything great about Alex Wright, and also not like, saying anything great about how Barry drafted him, but I don't, that's like people trying to drum up something because saying like, oh, Alex, there's going to be a battle between Alex Wright and this, Isaiah McGuire for the third potential spot as a DN. Not saying much.
Just more competition, but you're right. I mean, you lose Clowney, so not that he was a huge impact last year, but you're going to need a couple of guys to try to figure out who that other edge is, and it's just like I don't know. I
don't like leaving it up to rookies is my thing. I don't like
absolutely
this young
not.
thing is really screwing with us on the D line.
I think the D line is going to be better than last year, but when it was one of the worst in the league last year, that's really not saying much. And I guess if you give if we get middle of the pack, like 15 ranked defensive line play, maybe you win 2 or 3 more games. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, and teams aren't just running all over us.
Correct.
But moving on from that pick, again, round 5, pick 140, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, quarterback from UCLA, third string guy. He's going to be your protected guy until you know that, Watson re-signs or that, whatever happens. He'll replace Josh Dobbs after next season as the number 2, and he's just that. That's all I got for that one.
Here's what's interesting to me, because this is the scenario I'm about to lay out is very uncommon. I will admit that. But how many quarterbacks were in this draft that actually got drafted before him? 4? 3? 4?
No, 5. Only 4?
Stroud. Well, I don't really know. Did somebody else take a quarterback?
Bryce Young, Stroud, Levis, the kid from Florida,
Richardson,
and maybe he was 5.
So there was not like a deep quarterback draft. Like to get a quarterback at like 140, where like I've kind of heard about him like in the 5th round. I'm curious if a team in the middle of the year has an injury and calls us for him. Just a thought, just to put it out there. I know he's going to be the third string guy. He's not going to be over Dobbs, but he played a lot. I think he played 3 or 4 years at UCLA. He has a lot of experience, and it kind of sounds like the analysis I've heard about him is that he knows what he's doing. So I'll be curious to see if Andrew Berry gets some calls about him, if a team needs a quarterback or wants a younger guy in the middle of the season for an injury or something.
So he was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He was 10.
Okay, 10.
Yeah, because there were a lot of like Stenson Bennett and
Oh God, I forgot he even existed.
Hendon Hooker. So I knew
Oh,
those
yeah, I forgot
two,
about Hooker.
but the others, like the other guys in the middle of those two, don't have any clues.
He's interesting to me. Not that it's going to come to fruition in any way, shape, or form, but he's interesting to me.
Yeah, again, you need to have 3 quarterbacks going into camp 100%. And everything, and that's just about it. So round 5, pick 142, Cameron Mitchell, cornerback, Northwestern. This guy's probably not sniffing 5th on the roster right now, and that's just about it. And
no way.
Round 5, you're not counting on anything here. Round 6, pick 190, Luke Welper, The Ohio State center. Jeff and I talked about this just as a with Pochich getting a new contract and having Nick Harris, go down with an injury last year. Just another depth guy, potential Callahan works his magic. He could put to right guard, left guard if needed, but who knows? Again, not really expecting too much from a lot of these guys. Jeff?
Yeah, just draft linemen. Just if it's easy for Barry, just draft linemen, give him to Callahan. I mean, what else is there to do?
Need to find the defensive version of that guy.
Oh, imagine. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, but that's about it for the Cleveland Browns 2023 NFL draft. Not as exciting as most years, especially not, years past, but it is what it is when you go and get your franchise quarterback and other good assertive pieces like Elijah Moore. So, Jeff, anything else before we call this one quits?
No, I think it leads to a fun camp, but I'm sick of the camps. I'm sick of the preseason. I'm sick of the voluntary, involuntary. Just win. Just win the games.
Camp is not in. What's it called?
I saw that. So I saw Stefanski. Somebody asked him about that, or he made a comment about that.
We'll have to.
Is it in Cancun again, like they did that last year? Jesus.
Listen, we're gonna come back with a lot more Browns videos. There's a lot to talk about. The stadium, obviously, training camp and whatnot. But with all that being said, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing, hitting the bell notification, leaving a thumbs up, and leaving us some comments. What did you guys think of this draft? Who stuck out to you guys the most? Who is someone you're looking forward to seeing in camp? With that all being said, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.